back to YMT112 Algorithm and Programming 2. We are still discussing the GUI Applications, Chapter 13. This is the third session. We discussed two questions before. Now we're going to discuss the third question. This question has a bit of an idea, actually two separate ideas that we need to discuss. However, they are based on the ideas that we explained in question 1 and 2. Now, look, let's just revise what we explained earlier. Now, this is a course list, just a plain course list with some selection, just single interval, and we customized it to have a scroll with also single interval and with 6 rows visibility. Then what we need to do, we need to customize the one here. We need to keep the scroll the way it is. However, we need to customize the selection to multiple interval. Okay, so we can select different intervals from different sides, not just one block. Okay, and then we need also to display the output or the selections in a list like this, not just a text field. No, we need to create a list like this. So these are two customizations, and this list, the visibility that we need to have here, is set by the question to 6. Okay, so let's say you're allowed as a student to select, let's say, 6 courses. Let's say, I'm just assuming. For example, if your quota allows you to go 12 or 10 or whatever based on credit hours, you can expand your list visibility, okay? This is just an example. You can also enlarge it if you want or shrink it. It's up to your customization. This question is asking us to just set it up to size 6. Okay, so this is the idea. What we need to do is we need to create a new class and apply very similar scenario to what we did earlier. Let's just go to NetBeans. I'm going to use the same. I'll just copy and paste it, okay? Why I'm doing this? Just to save time, so that we can quickly catch the whatever we are going to learn in a better way, not to get just stuck with a lot of details that I had already explained. Let me just create a new class. I'll customize it. What are we going to call it? Well, maybe I call it course list. Maybe course list could be a good name. Keep the package. Okay, I'll call it course list. Sorry, course list. Okay, and course list, I'll give it the name of course list. All right, course list view. Okay, so now what are we going to have is exactly similar to what we did earlier. I'm going to paste everything I have here, and then I'll just customize. So we said course list view. Okay, course list view. Okay, so I need to change also my constructor. Okay, now this one I'm not in the exact package. I can just change it. Seems to me not. Okay, let me check where I am. Chapter 13 GUI. Okay, I can move it to right package, no problem. We can do that. Okay, all right, that's it. So now I need to have the swing class, I need to have the event, I need to have the AWT, but I need to have 2 more things. I forgot to explain that I have a button. So here the question is telling us to get the selection using this button. It's not just by clicking here and that's it, it will show. No, we need to provide the action or just get our selections, then the action taken using these selections should be realized using a button click. Okay, so we have a button. Now let's just try to understand the layout or how things are organized here. We have a panel here, it's clear what we did earlier. We have another panel for the display, which is a list, and then we have another panel for the button here. So we can use north, center, and south, for example. This is possible. Okay, sounds to me very fit, so we can apply it. All right, so we need to include button. We don't have any text field or label, so we need to exclude them. Okay, so since we are going to have a button and action listener of a button, we need to include the action event, okay, and also the action listener. So let's just go there and add them. AWT is fine. We need to import also java.awt.event, action event, okay, action. We need event first. Action event is inside another class. I'm sorry, event. I said it, I didn't type it. This happens to me all the time. I just say the thing, I don't type it. Okay, also we need to import another type of AWT classes. We need the action listener. Also it's inside event. I don't want to forget it this time. Okay, action listener. Okay, that's pretty much of it. So we got these two. We need the rest of them. Now, do I need the first panel? Yes. The course panel? Yes. Selected course panel? Yes, I need it. I need a new panel, okay, for the button. So I can create a panel for the button. I can call it button panel. It's just a name. It makes sense. Right. Do we have a list? We don't. We already removed our list. So in that case, but I still have the course list. So what I'm going to do, I'll need to customize it. Keep the course list for the course, but not for the display. So I'm in need for this, but I'm not in need for the selected course as a text field. So what I'm going to do, instead of having a text field here, I need to change it to a JList. And I believe you understand why I'm going to change it to a JList in this case. Or if you are not interested in having them separated, you can just add it here. Now, let me show you again. This is not a text field. This is a list. Okay? I'm using it for the display. Do I have any label? No, we don't have any label here. There is no any label. Previously it was here, now it's not. So I can just remove it. And we need instead of it, we need to have a private J button. Okay, and we create a button. Keep my list the way it is. There is no problem with it. And then my constructor should do the same. I will change it. I forgot earlier. I will do this. UOLP course list or courses. Okay, courses. Okay. Default operation. Border. Yes, we need the border layout. Okay. Here's the thing. The first part, we need the course panel. Yes. We need the selected course panel. Yes, we need another panel for the button. So belt, we can call it button panel, and another method. Leave it. It will just display the swirly line now because it's not implemented yet. We will implement it. We will create it. Now look, we have three components, or panels in this case, not components. I mean where we are placing components. So it's like a tiny frame that we place the components on, then we place it on the bigger frame of the window. Okay, so in that case, this panel, we have the first one, the course panel. That's fine. Its place is not center. Its place is north. And this is the center one. This is the south. So I changed this one to north. Okay, then what I'm going to do, the selected course panel, this one is supposed to be centered, so I change it to the center. And then I have another panel I just created, add. Let's see, what did we call it? We just created it. It's the button panel. So I'm going to use the button panel and place it to where? To the the southern part of the border. Okay, layout, and then dot south. That's not dot south. Okay. So that's pretty much of it for the components that we are going to have. We packed them. We set visible. Yes, so we have no problem with the visibility. Now, for the first one, we have no problem unless, or with one only exception, that we have single selection is not fit. We need to change the model of selection to multiple interval selection. So let me just change this. It will come automatically. I don't have to type it and make some typos. Multiple interval selection, that's easier for us to select. Now you see it's a bit long. You can just, send it down to the new line. That's easier for visibility. All right, so I set the selection, and plus the visibility of the rows is still the same. We have 6 rows visible here with a scroll. We still have also the scroll, so we don't have any problem with these. Okay. Now that's pretty much of it for the these components. What we need to do is we need to move to the next part. Now we don't have a label, so we need to remove this one totally. And then what we need to do is we need to create a list. We don't have also a text field. We ignore this text field, also the its customization. Now also the adding the label, we will change it. Now let me just remove this one. Now selected course panel is there. We need it, okay? And we need to create a list for the displaying, or for displaying the selected course list, okay? So I'll create selected course list equals new JList. Instead of earlier we had some other type of visualization. So now in this case we are considering the list. Selected course list. What did we call it? The name. Let me check. Seems to me I made a mistake. Selected course. Oh, not list. Selected course. Well, no need for list then. But this time is list, so I better put list, yeah, here, because it's a list. It's not just selected one course. So I was correct here, because we are not just selecting only one course. That's why I made a mistake of naming it, although it would work, but logically it's not exactly the way we are supposed to name it, because selection here is not only a single interval, one course. We have multiple interval, and that means we have a list of courses to be selected. That's fine. So we have already set it up. We need also to add the visibility. So we need to set the visibility. So how many of them to be seen or to be visualized? We said here we need 6. So those should be 6. So we need to do that. Okay. So selected course list dot set visible. Okay, row count, same like what we did earlier, and we need to provide the size or the width, in this case the number of rows. We said 6 also. Okay, do not confuse yourself with the 6 here and 6 here. They are separate. Well, the question is asking us for 6. It doesn't matter, you can change them and see how things go. Okay, then what we need to do, the idea is, where am I getting the input? So I need to display 6 elements in a list. So where is it coming from? It's coming from the scroll that we just created earlier. So what I'm going to do is like this. I'll just instantiate this jscroll pane, and I say, well, I give it the name selected course, selected course. Okay. scroll pane. Okay, that's enough. And then I initialize it, what we did earlier, so jscroll pane. And where are we getting the input in this case? What are we going to scroll, or what are we going to have as a scroll in this case? We need to have the selected courses. Okay, so we need to provide the list that we have as selected courses. Okay, selected course list. Okay, now I'm done with those. I need to place them. So selected course panel. So we called it selected course panel, the one we just created here. We need to add to it what we just created, this one. Okay, this one. So I place it. I don't have two components as earlier. This one is not needed. So I remove it, and that's it. That's pretty much of it for the selected course panel. Now we need to have a new panel. Okay, so we need to have a new method for building the button. So private void build, it's lowercase, okay, build button, and then we don't have any argument list. Now what are we going to have here in this case? We need to panel, I forgot, button panel, okay, and that's it. Now we need to create a button. So what we usually do is exactly like the idea what we create always. So button panel, initially we need to create it. So new J panel, okay, and then we need to define the button itself. So button equals new J button, and then we need to give it a name. What was the name of my button? Let me check here. Get selections. Get selections. Okay, then after that, what we need to do is we need to add the action. Why? Because I will click on this button. What kind of action will I have? So I need to register this button dot add, I'm sorry, add action listener, exactly, I'm sorry, action listener. And then I define my action listener class. So I say new button listener, and then I have to implement it. Okay, and this is a method in this case, sorry, instance in this case. Okay, so now we created our button. We need to add it. So we have the button panel dot add. So we need to add the button that we just created, what we do always with these components. Now that's pretty much of it. Now we need to implement this one. So we're not interested in any selection, rather we need to create an implementation for a button listener. So I remove all this, private class, okay, button listener, we just created, and this will implement. That means we have an interface to be implemented here in this one is action listener. Okay, and this is a class, so this has a private method, sorry, this has an abstract method to be this is an interface. We need to implement the abstract method, which is the action performed. We are familiar with it, we explained about it before. So action performed, and then we have an action event. So I need to create that. So we need to have action event here, lowercase action event, okay, as E for example, and then we need to see what kind of action event we have. Let me check why things not fine. Implements, okay, button listener, seems that I made a mistake. Okay, now fine, action event, let me check what kind of a mistake. Of course this is not lowercase. I made a mistake. This is uppercase. This one is lowercase. Okay, usually we get confused. Now look, for example, if you get stuck like me, in this case, is it capital or small or whatever? Now you need to get this green confirmation that your method is implemented. Now we have a plain method, but yet at least we typed it. That means we're going to implement its functionality. So to implement its functionality, we will see the selections coming to us from the multiple interval. We will call an object as an array, and then let's call it selections. The name here doesn't exactly matter, but you should use a name that makes sense. Now we will call course list, and then we will get the selected values. Earlier I said we will speak about it. Now it's here, so we need all the values that's selected in this case, and let me terminate. And now next to that, what I'm going to do is I need to display it. So I got the selections, so I need to say selected course list dot set list data, and now I display all my selections. Oh, wait a minute, I'm sorry. Selections. That's pretty much of it. We need to instantiate. This is for sure wrong. The name was course, capital, course C, course list view. Okay, and that's pretty much of it. So let's just run and see how things go. I have a mistake somewhere. Let me check this mistake. Let me check. I'm sorry. I have an exception, runtime exception. Okay, course view list. Okay, let me check here. All right, yeah, for sure. I don't have this, so that's the problem. I forgot to remove it. Okay, let me run. Yeah, that's pretty much of it. Why that problem happened? Because I forgot actually to remove the action of that selection, earlier selection that I created. And because of that, because we didn't implement its interface, then we got this problem. Now I have pretty much of what I provided earlier. We have six visibility of rows. Then we can select multiple interval. How to select that? Press on control, and then you can select whatever you want from these intervals, then get selections. You will get them printed here. That's pretty much of it. Please apply whatever I requested from you earlier to customize the borders here for this part, for this panel, for also the button, and try to do it and see how things go. That's it for this session. Until our next session, have a good time. Goodbye.